Welcome back, everyone. Today we will be ranking 25 extinct/prehistoric animals based on their aura. Now, this list isn't going to include any dinosaurs because I've already done a list on that top right of the screen if you want to go watch it. But only extinct creatures, so it can be any time frame, any time range, but they have to be extinct, obviously. But without further ado, let's get started with the first extinct/prehistoric creature, and that is the Andrewsarchus. Now, it lived about 45 to 36 million years ago, so pretty old. It was about 12 feet long, so 12 feet, that's pretty substantially sized. And it was about 6 feet high, so essentially, it could see you, alright? And it weighed about a ton. So this thing is pretty heavy and pretty large, a pretty large creature, and it was omnivorous. It ate pretty much anything. This thing is not talked about enough. It's essentially like, it's like a carnivorous hippo, pretty much, which is insane. Hippos on their own are some of the deadliest creatures on this planet. And now you have a carnivorous one? That's just insane, dude. A carnivorous hippo. Like, just think about that for a second. A giant hippo that eats meat. Insane. That it has to go in S tier. There's no way this thing is not going into S tier. So, let's go ahead and move on with the Glyptodon, alright? Glyptodons, they're essentially just giant armadillos, alright? Lived from 2 million years ago to 10,000 years ago. You're going to notice that 10,000 years ago. That's about when the Ice Age ended. Or humanity became prominent, or both. Could be both. But the Glyptodon, it's about 13 feet long. About 5-ish feet high, so it's a pretty chonky dude. And it weighed 2 tons, so yeah, it's about the same size as an Andrewsarchus, and it is a pretty chonky boy. Now, the thing is, it's an armadillo. It's a giant armadillo. Armadillos don't have that much aura. I'll be honest. It is a pretty tanky dude, I will say. We're gonna have to put Glyptodon into... We're gonna have to put him into C tier. Because at the end of the day, it is a Glyptodon. It is an armadillo. It's probably gonna get hit by a car. Now, yes, your car would be totaled. But, like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to put in B tier. Like, you're just driving along the woods, and then you see a Glyptodon walking around, and then you hit him with your car, and then your car is totaled, and it's just going to keep walking. That's aura. You know what? Yeah, that's aura. We're going to put him in B tier. Next up is Castoroides. Now, a Castoroides is... It lived from 2 million years ago to 10,000 years ago. So, again, the common theme. About 7 feet long, and it weighed about 250 pounds. So, it's a giant beaver. It's essentially just a giant beaver. Beavers don't have that much aura on their own. Like, they make dams and stuff like that, but, like, you compare, like, the stuff we have later on the list to a Castoroides. I don't know. It just doesn't have that much aura. We're gonna have to put Castoroides in D tier. Because, yes, at the end of the day, it is a giant it's a giant beaver. What is really cool, though, is a Megalania. Now, this was alive about 50,000 years ago. And was about 15 to 20 feet long. And weighed 1,300 pounds. Very chonky boy. And you want to know what's its closest living relative is? The Komodo dragon. And Komodo dragons are some of the craziest, deadliest creatures on it. Well, maybe not deadliest, but they're insane, alright? Komodo dragons, what they do is they bite their prey and then run off and they track down their prey. They stalk their prey. Because it's like bite is infected. It's like the bacteria they have in their mouth, though. Not the bacteria, like venom or something like that. And then their prey slowly die. Like the wound, it causes blood clots. So the animal eventually just sits there. And then the Komodo dragon comes along once the animal's collapsed and can't move. And then eats the animal alive. And this is a giant version of that. That we know of. That is S tier aura. You can't lie. This giant Komodo dragon has to go in S tier. Moving on, though, we have the Dimetrodon. This thing was alive about 280 to 270 million years ago. This is from 5 to 15 feet long. Different species, you know. Weighed about 62 to 551 pounds. It's either a little tiny boy or a big chunky boy. The Dimetrodons are cool. They're pretty cool. And actually, fun fact, they're related to mammals. So the Dimetrodon, is closely related to, like, mammals. You know, dogs, cats, humans, all that jazz. So that's pretty interesting. But how much aura does the Dimetrodon have? We're going to have to put Dimetrodon in A tier. I don't know. It is cool, but some of the stuff later on the list is, like, it can't compare. We're going to have to bring him down to B tier. Next up on our list is the Argentavis. This thing had a wing. This is the largest flying bird to ever exist that we know of. Unless I'm completely wrong, then go ahead and comment down below. But its wingspan was 16 to 20 feet. Essentially, its relative is a vulture. All right, now vultures are crazy, and this is a giant vulture. Matter of fact, this thing is so crazy that there's like a cryptid named after it. And speaking of cryptids, if you want to go watch a video relating to cryptids, there's a video link in the top right corner. But anyways, back with this video. Essentially, a cryptid called the Thunderbird was made after, like a Native American cryptid or a legend or whatever, was made after the Argentavis, which that's just aura on its own. It's not S tier aura, because at the end of the day, it is essentially just a giant vulture. Next up is the Megatherium. All right, about 20 feet long, about 8,500 pounds. So a pretty big, chunky boy. Lived from 35 to 10,000, 11,000 million years ago. No, 35 million years ago to 10,000, 11,000 years ago. There we go. And it's a giant creature. And it's essentially a giant three-toed sloth, which that is kind of aura. Sloths do sloths have aura? Not really. They're just chill little guys. But this isn't a chill little guy tier list. This is a aura tier list. So we're gonna have to put Megatherium into B tier. No, we're gonna keep him in B tier. You know what? We're keeping him in B tier. Megatherium is going into B tier. Next up, though, is Paraceratherium. All right, it's about 15 feet tall, 24 feet long, and weighs 15 to 20 tons. Absolute giant, all right? Lived from 34 to 23 million years ago, so humans haven't actually seen this thing alive. Essentially, this thing's like some weird animal creature that's about the size of an elephant. So we're going to put them into A tier. So, look, they are crazy. But I'd rather, like, if I saw an Andrewsarchus coming at me, the aura that thing has is insane. But a Paraceratherium, I don't know. Paraceratherium is a pretty large creature. We're going to put him up into S tier. Actually, no, we're keeping him A tier. I'm about to get flamed so much for all of these rankings. You're going to be like, actually, my name's John, and it belongs in F tier. Or S tier. Yeah, anyways, what doesn't belong in F tier is the Terror Bird. Now, they lived from 62 to 2.5 million years ago, so that's pretty crazy. They were 3 to 9 feet tall and weighed 280 to 660 pounds. There's a bunch of different species. I'm just throwing them all together into here. They're carnivores, but some of them are omnivores. So that kind of brings them down, but they essentially just eat whatever. And their closest related living relative is the Seriema, this thing. So that is pretty cool. That thing, it's like a little mini terror bird. But we're going to get back to the actual terror birds. Essentially, these things would just gobble your head off. They'd walk up to you and then chomp, you know? They are pretty terrifying. I mean, they have the word terror in their name, so we're going to have to put terror birds into A tier. But then again, I feel like I could fight one, you know? Like, okay, maybe not fight one. I could land a good punch, or I'm just going to get ripped in half. Either way. But we're going to put him in A tier. A tier is pretty safe for the terror bird. Next up, though, is the Smilodon. Now, I am a big Smilodon hater, all right? Because one, it's just like a tiger. It's not even a tiger. Like, it's a saber-toothed tiger. It's actually not even related to tigers. It's more closely related to actual cats. So, saber-toothed cat, tiger cat, maybe? I don't know. But, I mean, it's not even that cool. Like, lions and actual tigers are cooler this thing. Now, you might be saying, oh, well, this thing had a giant, fangs or whatever. Not fangs, tusks. And, what I say to that is that this thing went extinct for a reason. If it was cooler and if it was actually better, then it would still be alive. I mean, okay, the one thing saving this thing from going really low is the fact that this animal is the reason we have, like, fear of the dark. That's what scientists believe anyways. So that's aura on its own. Loki, saber-toothed tiger, gotta go in C tier. I can't lie to you. Everything above this has more aura than a saber-toothed tiger. I'm not gonna lie to you. Saber-toothed tigers do not have that much aura. Unlike the Titanoboa. Now, this is the largest living snake that we know of. There's a recent study of a new one, but of course it's still a study, not confirmed 100% yet. But this is a huge snake, dude. This thing, alright, get ready for this. 42 to 47 feet long. So, like the size of a bus. 2,500 pounds. That's insane. And guess how fast this thing moved? 50 miles per hour. You couldn't even outrun this thing if you tried, dude. 50 miles per hour? Are you kidding me? A giant snake that could swallow you whole. That goes 50 miles per hour. No, I was going to say run, but it doesn't have legs. That's insane. And this thing just ate crocodiles for a living. This was like one of the largest reptiles after the dinosaurs went extinct. It might be the largest reptile after the dinosaurs went extinct. That is S tier. If you were walking around in, like, let's say Florida, and then, like, because they have all the snake problems and all that. Let's say you were walking around in Miami and you saw a Titanoboa walking around, slithering around. Dude, that's insane to me. 50 miles per hour, dude. Imagine a snake that size coming at you at 50 miles per hour. You're cooked. Like, you could even be driving your car like at 40 miles per hour and it will catch up to you. Dude, that's just terrifying. S tier. No argument needed. Next up is the Beelzebufo. A big old froggy guy. It lived about 70 million years ago, so around the dinosaur time. And this is one of the largest frogs to ever exist. And it was 16 inches big and 10 pounds, which is pretty average, you know? You get what I'm saying? It's pretty average. But this is a frog. And they obviously ate frog things, but they also ate baby dinosaurs, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, you could just grab this thing and like chuck it like a brick or like a football, you know? And that's not aura. If you can pick something up and chuck it like a brick, does it really have that much aura? I don't think so. And the only thing saving it from F tier, honestly, well, two things. One, it looks like this. And then two, it ate baby dinosaurs. So that's going to put it in E tier. The fact that it ate baby dinosaurs, well, we think it did. That's pretty cool. That is some aura. Next up, though, is the Trilobite. Now, I am a Trilobites reporter, but Trilobites are really cool. They're peak, but they're not S tier peak. They're nowhere up on the top of the list peak. They lived about 521 to 250 million years ago. So a pretty, like, 300 million years. Well, like 200. It's a pretty long time. And it ranged from like 1 to 30 inches. So, you know, soft or hard. Okay. And like, essentially like scavenger or predators. They just ate stuff on the ocean floor. The one in particular I want to talk about is the Isotellus rex. First off, that name is just peak name. All right, it's about 28 inches long, and that is pretty large. That is, for a trilobite, that's insanely large. So, honestly, the Isotellus rex, that's low-key going to save them from going into F tier. We're going to have to put them in E tier of Beelzebufo. Because, again, you could pick it up and possibly chuck it like a brick, because it's only going to be like 10 pounds. So, it doesn't have that much aura. It doesn't have no aura, but it doesn't have a lot of aura. So, we're going to have to put it in E tier. What has absolutely zero aura, though, is the dodo bird. Now, if you know the story of the dodo bird, essentially, it was on an island that had no predators, Mauritius, and essentially like 3 feet large, you know, 25 pounds. Essentially, explorers came across this island and found the island, and they hunted the dodo birds because they were yummy and they were stupid. And then they also brought along like some natural predators, like cats, or not natural, invasive species that ate the dodo birds. So the dodo birds went extinct because they were so stupid they couldn't, you know, adapt. Now, it's not really because of stupidity. It was just like adaptation. They weren't used to predators, and then predators came in and they got wiped out. So, but honestly, I mean, they are cool, but it's a dodo bird. Come on now. We all know exactly where the dodo bird's going. It's going into F tier. Unlike the Gigantopithecus, all right? Now, this dude was alive from 2 million years ago to 250,000 years ago. 2 million to 250,000. And is about 9 to 10 feet tall and weighed more than 500 pounds. So automatically, big monkey. All right. It was a herbivore, so it was pretty chill. And its closest living relative is an orangutan that we know of. But the thing, it has aura. Because, one, if you've seen an argument online, 100 men versus one gorilla. If a gorilla has aura, then like a 9 to 10 foot monkey would also have aura. Then again, it is just a giant monkey. It's the real life Bigfoot. So we're gonna put it in A tier. I feel like A tier is a safe place for it. It is a big monkey, but it's nothing too crazy. Unlike the Dunkleosteus. The Donkey Dunk. All right. 382 to 358 million years ago. It was about 13 to 30 feet. There's a new study that was like, because essentially there's this dude and he realized how to calculate the actual size of extinct fishes, and that like everything, all the fishes that we've calculated were actually the wrong size. So Dunk was like 30 feet long, but now estimates say he's about 13 feet, which some might say is a loss of aura. But what I would say is that it would still chomp you in half. So That's aura on its own. And it's a donkey. Come on now. It's a little donkey dude. We're gonna have to put the dunk into okay, because he is a lot shorter now, we're gonna have to put him into A tier. Again, it could still eat you in half, but the normal chunky dunk. Where would chunky dunk go? Yeah, chunky dunk just has to go in A tier, alright? He's barely not missing out on S tier. Barely missing out. Next up though is Mochops, alright? Now Mochops are the GOAT. The absolute GOAT. Do they have aura? Sorta. Essentially, they're just goofy little dudes. If you played Ark, you know about the Mochops. But yeah, Mochops are chill dudes. Don't have too much aura. They're alive 265 to 260 million years ago. About 9 feet long and weighed from 284 to 284 to 722 pounds. So pretty chunky boys. Could you ride one? Probably. You know, it's just like a little goofy dude. Little goofy reptile dudes. So honestly, we're gonna have to put Mochops into C tier. They have the same. Okay, they would have more aura than a saber-toothed tiger. Saber-toothed cat, same thing. Yeah, Mochops have more aura than a saber-toothed tiger. What's not a chill little dude is the Megalodon. All right, these dudes were alive from 23 to 3.6 million years ago. They are extinct, that we know of. About 60 to 80 feet long, which is absurd, and weighed from 50 to 100 tons. Giant. Absolute giants. They fed about everything on the ocean. Anything from turtles to giant whales to smaller whales. Stuff like that. And their closest living relative is the great white shark or the mako shark. So pretty cool. The Megalodon's like kind of overplayed in media. Because like, it is just a giant shark. Like the Meg movies. That thing is, it's not that large, you know. Movies always like to play into size and stuff even though they're not that large. But Megalodon is cool. And it does have S tier aura. If you were swimming in the ocean and you saw the Megalodon, well, you'd probably be dead. Because well, actually, eating a human wouldn't be good if you give it enough energy. So it wouldn't eat you, but you would probably be scared and piss your pants. So it's definitely S tier. Just like the Quetzalcoatlus. Now, this thing is one of the largest flying things that we know of. It might be the largest flying thing that we know of, but it was about 35 to 36 feet. That's its wingspan. It weighed only 500 pounds, which is pretty crazy. I mean, obviously, it can't be too heavy or it can't fly. But 500 pounds, it's not too bad. I feel like if you hit it with your car, it'll like fall over. So might be some aura it loses. But then again, it didn't have cars back then. It lived from about 72 to 66 million years ago. And it ate fish, also dinosaurs. All right, this thing could eat dinosaurs. Not big ones, but like little ones. That is some aura on its own. Like imagine this. You're walking down the road at night, you're walking down the road, and then you hear whatever this thing sounded like, and you're like, oh, what the heck was that? And then you just see this thing walking towards you, right? Not even flying. It wouldn't fly, it would walk towards you. This thing, like, it's as tall as a giraffe, and it just walks towards you and then uses its beak and pecks you up and eats you. That's insane. That is insane. I mean, it's as tall as a giraffe. You know how, you've probably seen a giraffe before. This is how this thing can fly, and it's as tall as a giraffe. That is insane. That is S tier aura. I cannot lie to you. Next up is the Sarcosuchus, one of the giant crocodiles of the Mesozoic. Lived about 110 million years ago. 30 feet long, weighed 4 to 5 tons. And it ate dinosaurs. This thing ambushed and ate dinosaurs. Which, aura on its own. I mean, the dinosaurs were like something, like, not like it could eat carnivorous dinosaurs, you know? There's a bunch of popular images of it eating carnivorous dinosaurs, but that is pretty insane that it could eat dinosaurs. So it's not like as crazy as a Quetzal because it's just a giant crocodile. Crocodiles on their own have aura, but we're gonna have to put it into A tier because it doesn't have too much aura. At the end of the day, it is just a giant crocodile, so we will have to put it into A tier. Next up, we have the Arthropleura, alright? It was about 110 pounds. Keep that in mind for what I'm about to say. It lived about 346 to 290 million years ago. It was about 8 feet long. Okay, now, you might think, oh, that is a giant centipede, well, millipede, which you'd be correct. But at the same time, one, it was a herbivore, okay? A herbivore. It ate plants. Now, obviously, herbivores can be dangerous, but this thing ate plants. So, it's not really built, it's not going to hunt you, I don't think. Second off, it's 110 pounds. people could, like, you could pick up something that weighs 110 pounds. Literally, you could just pick this thing up and just start punching it to death if it, like, attacked you. Or, like, you just, like, start curb stomping this thing. Like, this thing, I don't know. It doesn't, it's like, it is crazy. I would be, if I was in a cave and I saw this giant thing coming at me. That would be crazy. But I could just curb stomp it to death. Low key. Arthropleura gotta go in D tier. I ain't gonna lie to you. Arthropleura is not that crazy. You could easily just curb stomp it to death and you'll be fine. Next up, though, is a dire bear, or Arctodus. Arctodus. It's about 12 feet long. Weighed 8,000 pounds for a bear. That's crazy. He lived about 2.5 million years ago to 12,800-ish million years ago. It was an omnivore. But this thing, dude, this just has so much aura, dude. Like, cave bears, dire bears, they're about the same thing. Just a giant... Bears on their own, again, have so much aura. And then you make it a giant bear. That is insane. I mean, what argument is there for why this shouldn't be an S tier? Next up is the Ichthyotitan. Ichthyotitan. It is quite possibly one of the largest marine reptiles to ever exist that we know of. It's about 85-ish feet long, which is huge. It lived about 200 million years ago. And it weighed for anywhere from 43 to 114 tons. That is ginormous, dude. That is gargantuan. Huge. And it ate ocean stuff. Now, that is insane, dude. This thing was like the size of some blue whales. Maybe even larger. It could be the largest marine thing to ever exist that we know of. Which is absolutely insane, dude. Giant. Just imagine a giant reptile that's like a blue whale. We're gonna have to put it into A tier, bro. We're gonna put it in S tier. I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna put it in S tier. Because it was one of the largest marine reptiles to ever live. Possibly one of the largest marine things to ever live, so S tier it is. Next up is the woolly mammoth. We all know of the woolly mammoth. We all possibly love the woolly mammoth. It lived about 300,000 to 4,000 years ago. It was about 10 feet high, 15 feet long, 6 to 8 tons. Now, a fun fact about the woolly mammoth. The woolly mammoths, they were still alive while the pyramids were being constructed. That is crazy. That is absurd. While the pyramids were being built, there were still woolly mammoths roaming around Siberia or on the island they were died on or whatever. So that is pretty cool. Honestly, though, we're just fuzzy elephants. Now, elephants already have aura, but like compared to everything else on this list, elephants are pretty chill. We're gonna have to put them into A tier. Because, like, honestly, obviously it has aura, but it doesn't have as much aura as like the Megalodon or like the Titanoboa. It's like I could see maybe like the Quetzal could possibly kill it, you know? Like, I'd much rather face a woolly mammoth than I would like anything on this list. Up in S tier. The woolly mammoths, like, they're just not that crazy. Honestly, we're gonna have to put the woolly mammoth in B tier, alright? Now, hear me out on this one. Hear me out. Just imagine for a sec you're just walking around and you saw any of these things in A tier, alright? You'd be terrified, but you saw a giant woolly elephant? Well, you're like, oh, well, it's not that dangerous, you know? It's not that scary, so it doesn't have that much aura. You know? Now, obviously, just because it's scary doesn't mean it's aura. Like, obviously, the Titanosaurs had aura, all that jazz, but it's just a woolly elephant, you know? Elephants on their own have aura, but any of these things would have a bit more aura. So we're gonna have to put it in B tier. Last on our list is the Mosasaurus. Now these guys lived about 82 to 66 million years ago. Were about 50 feet long, weighed about 2,200 pounds. And their closest living relatives, matter of fact, are snakes and monitor lizards, which are that's pretty cool. Essentially, the lizards they evolved from creatures in the water, like amphibians, became reptiles, then went back into water. I mean, obviously, there's still some monitor lizards on land today. But, I mean, it's a Mosasaurus. Now, it's not as big as it is in, like, the real life one isn't as large as it is in the Jurassic World movies. They made that thing, like, a kaiju size. But it is still pretty substantial. If this thing, like, was swimming at you and ate you, or, like, try to eat you, you know, it would be pretty terrifying. It is one of the largest, like, marine reptile. It's a Mosasaurus. Come on, we all know the Mosasaurus. We all love the Mosasaurus, I think. And Mosasaurus obviously has to go into S tier. Alright, that is the end of today's video. First off, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, go ahead, like and subscribe and all that jazz. You know, I really appreciate it if you would. But just in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.